Hello and welcome back to Alice Talks Football and welcome back to another live Manchester United news and transfer news show. And today is crazy regarding Man United transfer news because it's looking very, very likely that all of a sudden United are going to spend in January. Now, I've always said I don't believe myself that United are going to sign anyone in January. I think they're not going to spend any money. But this whole Ronaldo situation is basically meaning that United are going to have to do a complete 360 on their January plans and pretty much let go of Ronaldo if the situation doesn't change. But David Ornstein saying if United let go of Ronaldo, that frees a lot of wages for United to buy and bring in a replacement. And it was also said by David Ornstein that Man United in January will go for players if they will not be able to get them in the summer. And it has been said that Frenkie De Jong will be able to leave Barcelona in January potentially, with Xavi not wanting him, which is interesting because he just started the last game and he could be getting his place back off the bench as well. But the news report coming in from Rob Dawson and James Ollie is just in. Manchester United are ready to lead the race for Frenkie De Jong should he choose to leave Barcelona in January. United seem to be winning the race for De Jong if he leaves Barcelona in January. Now, I think if he's continuing to play with Barcelona, he will stay in January. I think if he gets back on that Barcelona bench, he's likely to leave in January, especially with Barcelona being in Europa League, so we can't really be projecting other Europa League clubs. But we're not going to get into De Jong just yet and talk about De Jong loads and loads on the channel. We're also going to be talking about Cody Gakpo to United, Ivan Toney to United, Ronaldo leaving. Like today's live stream is gonna discuss lots and lots of things, guys. Today's live stream, Fabrizio Romano has given an update on Cody Gakpo and David Ornstein's given an update on Manchester United's January transfer stance. That's all come out in the last 24 hours. But also in today's video, there's so much to talk about in the sense of Ten Hag's come out publicly and confirmed Ronaldo refused to come off the bench. You know, there was obviously, we said in yesterday's live stream, apparently Ronaldo refused to come off the bench. Ten Hag has come out publicly and said, yeah, Cristiano Ronaldo, he refused to come off the bench. He's being punished. We're going to talk about what Ten Hag said on Ronaldo, the Ronaldo situation, Ronaldo leaving. And then we're also going to dive into a bit of a Chelsea preview. The squad's come out for the Manchester United-Chelsea game. Who's likely to play versus Chelsea as well. If Man United finish second in the group, they'll play a UCL dropout, except Chelsea if they get third. Exactly. United, need to win their Europa League group, and we will talk about the Europa League in a second. But pick up, so favourite channel to listen to while I cook. So we're going to get into the De Jong news, and then we're going to get to the Gakpo news. The reason I want to cover the De Jong news first is because the De Jong news is boring. We're all bored of De Jong news, and I think we can get the De Jong news out of the way. We can talk about Edwin van der Sar. We can talk about Cody Gakpo. We can talk about Ivan Toney to United in January, which are more interesting ideas. We can also talk about the Ronaldo news, and we can also talk about what Ten Hag said, and we can also get into the Chelsea preview. So, Frenkie De Jong in January, people. If Frenkie De Jong continues to stay on the bench for Barcelona, who want to leave in January, and United would probably win the race for Frenkie De Jong, la-di-la-di-la. La-di-la. I don't think Frenkie De Jong's going anywhere in January. I think that this, although it's come out from a good outlet, a good article, I think that Frenkie De Jong next summer to United will heat up. I can't see it happening in January, but it's definitely possible. Anything's possible. I think if Frenkie De Jong all of a sudden decided he wanted to leave Barcelona in January and he was going to get a January move, I think United would get De Jong. And that sounds crazy because I don't think United are going to spend much money in January. And I've always said I don't know if United will back Ten Hag in January, but I think if there was a chance to get De Jong in January, and if it meant we didn't get him in January, it meant we couldn't get him in the summer, I think United would get him in January in the sense of, let's say De Jong's on the market this January and Liverpool are about to buy him. I could see United potentially going for De Jong because that is their plan for next summer. They've realised that they can't get him to next summer if he's going to move from Barcelona, and potentially United would swoop him for De Jong in January. But I think right now De Jong's just got back in the Barcelona starting lineup, so I don't see him leaving anytime soon. But a player we do know will be leaving the club in January, or at least hoping to leave the club in January, is Cody Gakpo. Now, basically, Romano and Ornstein have basically said Cody Gakpo is a player United are interested in. Cody Gakpo is a player that would like to join United. Cody Gakpo is a player that is available this January. That's been confirmed by Fabrizio Romano. That's been confirmed by David Ornstein. That's been confirmed by all the good people in the news is Cody Gakpo to United. And the thing is, if Ronaldo leaves, it's very likely that we could get someone like Cody Gakpo. I actually spoke about this in my live stream earlier. So what I want to do is I actually want to get you the news from my live stream earlier about what David Ornstein said. Sorry, not my live stream, my short video earlier, which I didn't really talk about this to the end. So a lot of people probably haven't seen this news, but I want to show you what David Ornstein had to say about sort of Gakpo to United. And one of the things that David Ornstein came out and said is if Cristiano Ronaldo leaves Manchester United in January, a replacement would be a strong consideration. We've gone in the space of a week to United will not be looking to do any business in January, in or out, to okay, the situation with Ronaldo is getting bad. We're going to have to give Ten Hag what he wants, sell Ronaldo in January and bring someone in. And the United board have been very public with the stance of backing Ten Hag. Fabrizio Romano said that United are fully going to back Ten Hag, and that's why they backed Ten Hag's decision to drop Ronaldo. We will talk more about that in a second, what Ten Hag said on Ronaldo, the situation, his apology and more. United apparently are backing Ten Hag. Now, I always say actions speak louder than words. United are coming out saying they're backing Ten Hag. Did that thing published they're backing Ten Hag, but I think if they're truly backing Ten Hag, they know Ronaldo wants to go. They know Ten Hag doesn't want Ronaldo. They will let Ronaldo leave in January, and they will let Ten Hag bring in a striker who I think will be Cody Gakpo, as he's basically crying out for United. Now, Cody Gakpo isn't a striker. I like Cody Gakpo at United, but if we get Cody Gakpo, we're still going to need a Ronaldo replacement in summer. We're still going to be needing to look at Ivan Toney, a Victor Osimhen, or someone. People saying Cody Gakpo was shit versus Arsenal yesterday. You don't judge a player off one game, because there's times where shit players have one really good game. And if you judge a player off one game, we'd be in a lot of trouble. But I think I've always said De Jong won't happen in January. I think that Ronaldo out and Cody Gakpo in January is likely. And I do think United were looking at making a move for Ivan Toney in January. But I think due to the price and due to Brentford probably not wanting to sell, I don't think Ivan Toney will be possible until the summer. And we will talk about the Ivan Toney rumours in just a second. But what David Ornstein has said, and we're going to get into what else David Ornstein has said, is that if Cristiano Ronaldo leaves in January, signing a replacement would be a strong consideration. And the second thing that David Ornstein said, and I think this is really important, and again, we spoke about this in my video earlier, if you didn't watch this, was David Ornstein said, I'm going to get this on the screen so you guys can see. He said removing Ronaldo off the wage bill would probably allow Manchester United to afford a transfer fee and wages of a replacement. David Ornstein, the best journalist out there in terms of United news, one of the most reliable guys out there, is saying removing Ronaldo off the wage bill would probably allow United to afford a transfer fee and wages of a replacement. So that's David Ornstein coming out publicly and saying United will replace Ronaldo if he leaves, and every reliable outlet and is basically saying Ronaldo will be allowed to leave United in January. Man United realise the situation is getting out of control. Unless something happens miraculously where Ronaldo is playing every week and scoring goals every week, it seems that Ronaldo will be set to leave United in January, which means that United will very likely be bringing in an attacker in January. Now, I don't know for sure if that attacker is going to be Cody Gakpo. We know for facts we're interested in Ivan Toney and Cody Gakpo. Ten Hag's good journalists have linked us to Ivan Toney and Cody Gakpo. So if I was going to assume we're going to sign anyone, it'd be one of those two. We're also linked to a right back in January, but that doesn't replace Ronaldo. We're also linked to Frenkie De Jong in January. That doesn't replace Ronaldo. But one of the more interesting things David Ornstein came out and said, and which what I need to get up in a second, is David Ornstein did say Manchester United are very clear that they will only move for players in January if opportunities arrive that are fast track from next summer. And what David Ornstein really means is United are only going to spend in January if they're players that they wouldn't be able to get in the summer, or they're players they'd be looking to sign next summer anyway, and they're just going to fast track them and bring them in January. So whoever we bring in January is probably on the summer transfer list. And the summer transfer list we know is a right back. We know it's Diogo Costa, the goalkeeper. We know it's Cody Gakpo. We know it's Ivan Toney. And we know it's Frenkie De Jong. So basically, David Ornstein saying if Ronaldo leaves, it's going to be someone on United's transfer list for the summer to replace Ronaldo. So that would purely have to be Ivan Toney, Osimhen, or Gakpo. So I think in that sense, Ronaldo leaving is looking more and more likely, because it was said by iPaper Sport here. And let me get it up. iPaper Sport said that Manchester United sources says an exit strategy is being considered for Ronaldo, and if no suitors can be found, then super agent George Mendes, United might be willing to cut their losses and let him go on a free. So good sources saying that not Frenkie De Jong, Jesus Christ, good sources saying that Ronaldo could be set to leave Manchester United on a free. And obviously David Ornstein saying if Ronaldo does leave because of the wage bill and all the money freed up, that United would look to get someone in to replace Ronaldo, and the someone in that United would look to get in to replace Ronaldo is someone that United are already looking and hoping to signing in the summer, which is mad. Osimhen also costs like 100 million, so there's that. I don't think Osimhen's possible. I think Osimhen and Ivan Toney is who he wants, but I think because of the price tag, it will be Cody Gakpo for us to make an educated guess. Let's go for 200 likes. And Daniel said Ronaldo being sold would help get Gakpo a new signing. Exactly. And I think with Ronaldo being unhappy, the best thing to happen is to probably let Ronaldo go. And the quite hilarious thing is never openly divulged info about English players or any players' misconduct till now. And the football talk, I want to get into this. I will dive back into the transfer news in a second. But I just tweet something around this myself. I tweeted here. I said that Ten Hag did the right thing, and I'm not defending Cristiano Ronaldo, but Manchester United have spent years protecting so many English players. But as soon as it's Ronaldo, they want to tell the world all the details. With other players, we know they get in trouble, but the details get covered up. And this is what I tweeted, and I followed this up saying this is the first incidents happened under Ten Hag, and I believe he will treat all the players equally. But had this been an academy player, I feel like the club would have been protecting them in the media and just saying they were punished rather than spill out refusing to leave the bench. Now, this is what I was saying about the Ronaldo situation. It kind of links to your comment. I said, and I am going to dive back into the transfer news in a second, guys, so just bear with me. But I just said, I think that Ten Hag's done the right thing with Ronaldo. I think Ronaldo being punished, I think Ronaldo being kicked out of the squad, kicked out of training and fined is the right thing, because Ten Hag needs to instill discipline because this club's had an issue with player power. Now, has Ten Hag been strict on Ronaldo? Yes. Do I sometimes feel sorry for Ronaldo? Of course I do. Yes, he's been treated poorly by the club, but I cannot defend Ronaldo refusing to come off the bench. I cannot defend Ronaldo leaving the stadium early, especially because he's done it once before, and I can defend Ten Hag punishing Ronaldo. But what I cannot defend is that the club are happy to let Ten Hag and the media spill out all this info on Ronaldo. But had it been an academy player and not Ronaldo that had refused to leave the bench and then left the stadium early, would it have been a different story in the media? Probably. And the only issue I have with the Ronaldo incidents regarding Ronaldo's side is I think that, United, are throwing a club legend under the bus. United has spent so many years protecting shite players in the media. United has spent so many years protecting absolute shite players in the media to then go and throw a club legend under the bus. I think for me, I think it's good that we know the details because I want to know it, but also saying, it's because he refused to get off the bench and all that, and all these details about Ronaldo publicly. You never did that when there were disciplinary incidents under other managers. You never did that when Rashford and Rangnick had a disciplinary incidents. If it had been Scott McTominay, would the same happen? I don't think so. My point is, I think Ten Hag did the right thing. I think Ronaldo needs to be punished, and I fully back Ten Hag's decision here with Ronaldo, and I have no issue how Ten Hag's dealt with it. I think that Ten Hag will treat every Manchester United player equally. Had it been another player, not Ronaldo, I think they still would have got the same punishment. And I think Ten Hag punishing Ronaldo sets an example for the rest of the dressing room. But what I'm trying to say, if you get my point here, is I feel like United aren't giving Ronaldo any media protection and want as many people as possible to go at him to put all the distraction and fan anger on Ronaldo. And I feel like had it been an academy player and not Ronaldo, I think we'd have just known that they'd been punished for walking home early because you saw it. But I don't think the details about refusing to come off the bench would have emerged or come out. But that's just my opinion. Let me know your thoughts down below as well. We're definitely not buying any 100 million player this summer after we chase Frenkie. I don't think United will spend crazy money this summer as well. And Ronaldo wanted to play more, still got no excuse. You have to respect the manager. Exactly. Ronaldo has every reason to be frustrated, but as Steve said, you've got to respect the manager, and he did act very unprofessional, as Daniel said. Guys, make sure you smash that like button and, of course, subscribe down below. Lingard was an academy player, but Lingard got to the point where he was just at United so long. And to be fair, Lingard was quite protected from the media. Paul Pogba was an academy player, but he came back. He got no protection from the media. But what I'm saying is, your Paul Pogba, your Martials, your Ronaldos, they've had no media protection from Manchester United. If you compare the protection in the media of your Scott McTominays, your Rashfords, and your Maguires, and you compare it to the protection in the media of your Pogbas, your Martials, and your Ronaldos, it's a different level. United seems to protect certain players. United want to throw Ronaldo under the bus because he's a big name. Now, what I disagree with, there are a few minority of Man United fans actually coming out saying, screw Ten Hag, F Ten Hag, actually completely turning on Erik Ten Hag for this decision. There's a lot of Manchester United fans out there very, very angry with Ten Hag for making this decision and say he's disrespecting Ronaldo. And I say to you fans, I don't know how you can defend Ronaldo on this. I think the incident is awful. I love Ronaldo, and I don't think you can defend Ronaldo's actions. Refusing to come off the bench when you're on 500 grand a week and your manager's asked you to come off for 10 minutes is unacceptable. Then leaving the stadium early, especially when Erik Ten Hag told him once before you can't leave the stadium early, is unacceptable. And this is what Erik Ten Hag said. Erik Ten Hag came out publicly and said he refused to play, and I've already told him off about leaving the stadium early. Ten Hag said he confirms that Cristiano Ronaldo refused to come on against Tottenham. We're going to get into the transfer news in just a second, guys, so keep tuned. But let me just confirm what Ten Hag has said to you guys here. So the first thing Ten Hag said, so obviously that's not it. Sorry, that's obviously the David Ornstein tweet. But the first thing Erik Ten Hag came out and said was basically that Cristiano Ronaldo refused to come off the bench. Is basically what he's saying. He said he confirmed this. Obviously, it was a news article that came out yesterday. But if you get it up here, Ten Hag's exact words were in the press conference, yes, Ronaldo refused to come off the bench versus Tottenham. Ten Hag confirms this. Then Ten Hag had to speak about Ronaldo not coming off the bench, and Ten Hag, handled this press conference really well because all the attention was on Ronaldo. And Erik Ten Hag said, I am the manager, I am responsible for the culture here, and I have to set standards and values, and I have to control them. In the team, we have values and standards, I control them. And Erik Ten Hag's justified why he's punished Ronaldo like that, because he wants to set an example to all the other players. He doesn't, Erik Ten Hag's been working so hard to tell the United players there's going to be no favouritism. It doesn't matter who you are, you're all going to be treated equally. And if Erik Ten Hag let Ronaldo get away with that, then it would send a message to all the other United players that they can get away with disrespecting the manager and walking off. If what Erik Ten Hag has to punish Ronaldo, a lot of people don't realise this. He refused to come on and left early. If other Man United teammates see Ronaldo do that to the manager and him not punish Ronaldo, they'll see Ten Hag as weak and realise they can walk all over him. So that's why Ten Hag had to be so strong. And Ten Hag, has values, and he said, I've got values and standards. He wasn't professional and he needs to be punished. And the other thing that Erik Ten Hag did come out and say, which is really interesting here, guys, as well, is that Erik Ten Hag did come out and say, after Ronaldo left early against Rayo Vallecano, I told him it's unacceptable, but not him, everyone. This is the second time there are consequences. We miss him tomorrow. So Ten Hag did say, look, remember, it wasn't just Ronaldo that left versus Rayo Vallecano, but he said after Ronaldo left versus Rayo Vallecano early, he told him and all the players it was unacceptable to leave the game early. And he said the reason Cristiano Ronaldo is being punished so strictly for this is because this is the second time he left the stadium, and also he refused to come on. And then Ten Hag did finish it up by saying, look, we are going to miss Ronaldo tomorrow despite that. And Ten Hag did say that Ronaldo, despite all of this, will remain a strong player in the United dressing room, an important player in the Manchester United squad. And you drive more into news coming out and more into Ten Hag's presser as well. Ten Hag really does talk and link about Ronaldo. Ten Hag did say, I understand there's a lot of questions about Ronaldo at the moment in this press conference, but he said we also have to focus on the Chelsea game. We have a big game against Chelsea. I want my focus to be on the game, not Ronaldo, because Ronaldo seems to be taking up all the focus and saying we have to win and concentrate to play our best. And Ten Hag did speak about Ronaldo not being part of the squad tomorrow. He said, look, I'm going to miss Ronaldo not being part of the squad tomorrow for his attitude and mentality of the group. And now we have to focus on Chelsea being important. And Ten Hag did say, look, Ronaldo's a good impact on the group for attitude and mentality, and he will be missed not being in the squad, but I have to drop him for discipline issues to set an example. And Ten Hag said, look, this incident with Ronaldo is part of football. It's part of the game you play. There are noise, rumours. You just got to focus. He said, football's a team sport. You have to feel certain standards, and I have to control it. And that's why Ronaldo has been dropped. And Ten Hag said why Ronaldo's training alone. He said that I'm making Ronaldo train alone in this period as a time of reflection for him, but also everyone else. I said at the start of the season, next time there have to be consequences. Otherwise, you are living together and playing together. And Ten Hag's made that really clear. He's made that really clear to the United players. If you break my rules, there's going to be consequences now. Under managers in the past, Oli, there wasn't consequences. Ragnick wasn't consequences. If you broke Ragnick's rules, you basically got an extra day off because Ragnick was like, I'm not dealing with this. Whereas Erik Ten Hag said, there's consequences under me. If you play under me and you mess up, there's consequences. And he had to use Ronaldo as an example of not behaving well. Ten Hag is going to be strict. There's going to be punishments. We know that if you're responsible for a dressing room leak, you're going to be exiled from the squad. We know that Garnacho was late to one of the meetings in pre-season and got completely dropped off the whole pre-season. We know that if Man United players are not giving their all in training, he screams and shouts at them and said they won't play the next match. Ten Hag is installing this very strict discipline in Manchester United that is 100% massively needed. And he had to use Ronaldo to set an example. And I think, it's upsetting because Ronaldo's a club legend, and some people saying, is Ronaldo's legacy being ruined? But I think he had to do that to the other players as well. Ronaldo was wrong, Ten Hag is right, but the media isn't diverting the fans away from the fact that Glazers decided not to start any renovations at the stadium that's rusting. 100%. Hashtag Glazers out, guys. Smash that like button if you're Glazers out. We're going to dive into some transfer stories in a second. Glazers out move. Diego said, could Maguire be leaving potentially in the summer? But no, no one's going anywhere in January in terms of outs other than probably Ronaldo. And I've seen your video saying, does Ronaldo care more about himself than the club? For me, the club comes first. I see a player in a good position. I pass the ball. I put him to him empty. Yeah, I think Ronaldo right now does care about himself more than United, and that's the sad thing as well. Ornstein doesn't score more goals than Gakpo, but Gakpo is a striker. And Alice, what do you think the United-Chelsea score will be? 2-0 United as well. But Ornstein apparently is willing to join Manchester United, and we're going to dive into the transfer news stories now. But Napoli are a very good side, and they are probably better than United right now, as Orange Devil said. But hashtag Glazers out. Let's get into the next story. So regarding Ronaldo leaving, Erik Ten Hag obviously confirms he's unhappy with Ronaldo leaving. Ten Hag did come out publicly and confirm Ronaldo refused to come off the bench and said, Ronaldo did this against Rayo Vallecano. I have to punish him as well. And because Ronaldo situation happened, we know that Ronaldo leaving Manchester United in January is looking very, very possible. With obviously news coming out from iPaper Sport, which is sometimes the first to report on a lot of things. And we are going to get into the Van der Sar section of this live stream in a second, but news has come out here that Manchester United sources have said an exit strategy is being considered for Ronaldo. If no suitor can be found by super agent George Mendes, United could be willing to cut their losses and let him go on a free. And it seems that United are really going to actually back Ten Hag's decision of letting Ronaldo go, because Ten Hag said he doesn't want a player that doesn't want to be at United. He wants any player that's not at United to be gone. And Ten Hag gave the board 3 rules. When Ten Hag got the Man United job, he said 3 things to the board. He said, I want the players I want in and out to be here. He said, I don't want you buying me players without permission. I want every player in the United squad that's here to be a player I approve that you buy. And Ten Hag also said, I want you to sell players that I don't think are good enough, not be given them new contracts. Ten Hag also made a new rule where he has to approve all the new contracts, and that even though Delot started the season well, Ten Hag said Delot does not get a new contract until I approve it. You know, Ten Hag's created all these new strict rules at United, and one of the things Ten Hag implemented was that, you know, he's going to choose the players we sell and buy. He's got 100% saying at the board and not going and selling and buy players without permission. And Ten Hag has now granted Ronaldo permission to leave United, and if the board are fully backing Ten Hag, then they will let Ronaldo go, whether it's a free or not. And if the board are fully backing Ten Hag, they will then sign a Ronaldo replacement. And David Ornstein, as we spoke about in the beginning of the video, did come out publicly. Mr. David Ornstein came out publicly for Manchester, came out publicly and said, look, it's very likely that if Ronaldo leaves United in January, United will sign a replacement because of the money that's freed up on their wage bill as well. Steve did mention that Ten Hag was this ruthless at Ajax. Man, you should be thankful they're the coach and they should want him to be here for a long time. I agree, you know. Erik, I need to wake up a bit. I'm falling asleep. One sec. Wake up. I don't know why. I'm absolutely knackered. But Erik Ten Hag was absolutely ruthless at players. I heard a story about, was it Neres? It might not be Neres, but it was one of the Ajax players. Ten Hag didn't like his hair. And Ten Hag had a go at him for his hair being unprofessional. And he said to Ten Hag, whoever the Ajax player was, if you sort out your hair, I'll sort out mine. And it's a bit of a funny joke because he's got no hair. But Erik Ten Hag was livid and apparently dropped him for 4 games. Now, that was a story I read somewhere. We also hear other stories of Ajax players being dropped, Ten Hag giving players the boot. We also hear stories about how Ten Hag completely changed the dressing room mentality at Ajax. I remember in April, there was reports saying that Donny and Daley Blind have been ringing up their United teammates saying it's going to be different when Ten Hag gets in. Be prepared for some ruthless, strict rules. We know players at Ajax were warning, you know, United, you've got to be prepared for some major changes, some strict rules, some big things going in. And we know from using our mind, from using our brain, from using everything we see, that Ten Hag is going to reinforce some big changes at United. The first thing Erik Ten Hag has done when he came to United was he said to the board 3 things. He said to the Man United board 3 things. He said, you can only buy and sell players I approve. That's the first thing he said. You can only buy and sell players I approve. The second thing Erik Ten Hag said is you cannot give any new contracts out for commercial reasons. You can only give new contracts out if I approve them. And the third thing Erik Ten Hag said was just give me control of the academy and give me control of scouting and all of that. Erik Ten Hag is working on the scouting, and Erik Ten Hag's been having talks with Van der Sar about Van der Sar potentially making the switch from Ajax to United. And Erik Ten Hag, and this is interesting, and we are going to get into this in a second, but Erik Ten Hag essentially wants to rebuild the Ajax structure at United, because one of the reasons Erik Ten Hag achieved so much at Ajax and was so good at Ajax was because the Ajax structure fully backed him with Van der Sar, Overmars. It was the perfect trio. Now, I'm not sure we want Overmars at United, but what I'm saying is Erik Ten Hag wants Van der Sar to come. Van der Sar has a good relationship with United, and United have a good relationship with Ajax. And one of the interesting things about Van der Sar is he is an ex-player. Now, we know United don't like to give out power. We know that they were reluctant to give Paul Mitchell the job, who would have been brilliant. But Man United have a bit of an obsession with ex-players. The board do. You know, they're giving bloody all ex-players' siblings. They're giving Michael Keane's brother a job. And because Van der Sar's an ex-player and he's got some kind of link to United, I think there's a definite possibility, especially because he worked with Ten Hag in the past, and it was confirmed there were talks about getting Van der Sar into United. And, you know, Ten Hag's obviously saying to the United board, sell Ronaldo in January, bring me someone in. We'll have to wait and see if the United board obey that. But Ten Hag's obviously been suggesting to the United board Van der Sar. And Ten Hag, believe it or not, I'm not saying that the board are backing Ten Hag. I'm not defending the board. I think the board are bloody useless, and I think the board need to do better and back Ten Hag better. But what I will say about Erik Ten Hag is he's very much convincing. The board said Dybala on a free. The board suggested we got Dybala on the free. The board made loads of suggestions to Erik Ten Hag, and he said no. I want Antony and Antony only. So United didn't get Dybala on a free. They had to wait and spend 100 million on Antony. Ten Hag said to the United board, it's the players I want or no one. The amount of players that Murta and Arnold tried to buy that Erik Ten Hag put his foot down and said no. That Erik Ten Hag said put his foot down and said no. Erik Ten Hag said you're only buying players I want to buy. And Erik Ten Hag said, you're selling players I want to sell. And when we lost 4-0 to Brentford, we go into that big speech Erik Ten Hag gave when Man United lost 4-0 to Brentford. And what did Erik Ten Hag say in that big speech when we lost 4-0 to Brentford? Ten Hag said, if you don't want to be here, let me know and I will sort you out a move. Because Ten Hag's gone to the board and said, if a player is causing me problems and if I want a player to leave, do not stop them leaving, even just because of the price. Because he said, no one is bigger than the club. And Ten Hag absolutely punishing Ronaldo, fining him 2 weeks' wages, not letting him train with the first team, not letting him play in the match for bad discipline, sets an example of what Ten Hag will do. Ten Hag said, if you're unprofessional and you disrespect me, you get punished. And Ten Hag said, if you don't want to play for me, if you don't back me as your manager, you will be sold. And the board will back me on that decision. And Ten Hag's, the players can now see the board have backed Ten Hag on his decision to drop Ronaldo. But will the board back Ten Hag on his decision to sell Ronaldo and bring in a Ronaldo replacement? Because if the board do that, it sends a message to the players that they're fully behind Ten Hag, which will improve the player mentality, but it also shows the impact of Ten Hag. He's already forced the board to bring in the players he wanted this summer, spend that extra money on January. He convinced them. He stopped them buying Dybala and Dembele on a free and said, no, only players I want. He then told the board to not give out new contracts. The board are all ready to give out De Gea, Dalot, Rashford, Fred, and Luke Shaw new contracts. And Ten Hag said, no, I will decide. We can't give them a new contract. They have 3 good games. They have to deserve it. I want to create a culture at United where you have to deserve and fight for a new contract. It's hard to come by. Because new contracts at United haven't been hard to come by, which means players don't have to work hard to get a contract and players are too comfortable at United. And they're the 2 major changes Ten Hag's making. And the third major change that Ten Hag wants to make is he wants to change the structure of the Manchester United board. And this is what would be brilliant. He wants to bring in Van der Sar. He wants to work with Van der Sar. He's making suggestions to the board. And I do think that United, and I don't trust the Glazers, I don't trust the board. I think we're an awfully run club. But I do think Ten Hag's the absolute right manager in there, because I think United have had so much failure in the last 10 years that they will want to do something different this season. I think they will want to, they want to change. You know, Murta and Arnold do come out saying they want to change. And I do believe they want to change the way they do things. They got Ten Hag in instead of Poch. That was the right decision. They've not treated Ten Hag awfully. They've not treated Ten Hag well, but they did go out and get Antony. However, that is on Jim Ratcliffe and the Glazer out protest. But if the board is serious, they'll get Van der Sar. The thing is, the Glazers are a disgrace. They're not going to give Ten Hag the money he wants, you know. But if the board is serious, about changing, if the board is serious about backing Ten Hag, they will let Ronaldo go in January because that's what Ten Hag wants. They will buy a replacement and they will bring in Van der Sar. And I think if the board do that, I will applaud the board, because all I'm doing is slagging off the board. If the board do that, I'll applaud the board. And the board is saying they're going to back Ten Hag. But what I'm trying to say for this, because I've just rambled on for a minute, is actions, guys, definitely speak louder words. Guys, I just want to quickly throw out, I'm 1 subscriber away from 52.2k. I'm on 52,199 subscribers. So if you're watching right now and you're not subscribed to Alice Talks Football, please do go and click that subscribe button. I go live every single evening on the channel, keeping you guys up to date with all the latest Manchester United news, transfer news, updates, and more. I do transfer shows every single evening on the channel, guys. I also am doing a watch along to United Chelsea tomorrow. We will do a match preview to United Chelsea tomorrow morning. We do match reactions after United Chelsea. So for daily content, loads and loads of United content on the channel, do subscribe. But I want to get into the Ivan Toney story. I want to get on the story about United signing a right back, and I do want to get more into the Gakpo news and what Fabrizio Romano said about Gakpo. So just hold up that a second as well. And I do want to get into the chat as well. But Erik Ten Hag should go for Gakpo and Gravenberch. Gravenberch just left, so unlikely as well. Scoring goals helps, especially if you can't defend. United do need to score more goals. And people are saying 5-1 United in terms of predictions. Do get your Chelsea predictions down below. And Neres was benched for 2 games, not 4, going back to the point. But we do need Gakpo. We are going to get into this. So I was just catching up on the live chat. So do get any questions in the live chat down below. Will Daley Blind return to Old Trafford? Highly unlikely. And managers don't change boards. The board appoint managers. True. But Ten Hag is suggesting people like Van der Sar. I think United are going to win 2-1. Pascal thinks United are going to win 2-1. Let me know your Chelsea prediction down below. A lot of people saying 2-1. Daniel's saying he's sitting on the fence. Martial is out for the Chelsea game, which is annoying. Martial is out for the Chelsea game, which really, really does annoy me. He's just always injured, especially with the Ronaldo situation, Ronaldo not being present. Alanga apparently is injured. Ronaldo is obviously out and Martial's injured. So Rashford is the only striker for the Chelsea game. And using our brain, we know Rashford will start. But what was said is that Manchester United are very clear that they will only move for players in January if opportunities arrive at a fast track from next summer. So this was an interesting thing David Ornstein said. And basically, in the space of a week, and why I want to go back to this and why this is important, is this type of week ago, it was made very clear that United were not going to spend in January. It was very clear United were going to be very unlikely to spend in January. That Mercer said we're focusing on the summer. In the space of a week, because of the Ronaldo incident, it's all the reliable journalists in the space of a week have gone from United not going to do anything in January to if the player that United want in summer they could get in January, they're going to make a move for them now in January. And David Ornstein saying, because if Ronaldo leaves in January, David Ornstein said this, if Ronaldo leaves in January, a replacement will be very likely because they will free up a lot of space on the wage bill. So all of a sudden, because of the Ronaldo incident with Ten Hag, it looks like United are going to sign someone in January because it looks like Ronaldo's going to go. And Ten Hag has gone to the board after this incident, and Ten Hag has said to the board, I want Ronaldo to go. Ten Hag reportedly gave Ronaldo permission to go in summer, but there wasn't a good enough offer for Ronaldo to go, and the board stopped Ronaldo leaving. But Ten Hag actually told Ronaldo he could go in summer. The board, instead of backing Ten Hag and letting Ronaldo go and bring in Gakpo, which is what Ten Hag reportedly wanted in summer, they opted to keep with Ronaldo, keep an unhappy player at the club. But Ten Hag is fed up with it. He's saying, I don't want a player that acts like this at the club, disrupting what I'm building with the dressing room, disrupting the dressing room mentality. And United backed Ten Hag's decision to suspend Ronaldo for this bad behaviour, which is good. But we United back, when it comes to the transfer market, when it comes to spending money, are United going to back Ten Hag's decision to sell Ronaldo and bring someone in? And with the news coming out from Ornstein, it looks like that's the case. If one of our summer targets is available in January in attack, United will go for them. And that could be Ivan Toney. That could be Cody Gakpo. I think we'll have to wait and see. But very much big news building up. And going back to Ronaldo and that, Ten Hag is doing the right thing. I like Ronaldo. I think that the media doesn't treat him well. I think that United, if it was an academy player, would offer more protection. But I think Ten Hag is trying to build something in the dressing room where he's trying to stop player power. And you've got to look at what Arteta did with Aubameyang. Aubameyang was the most powerful player at Arsenal. And look what Arteta did with Aubameyang. And Ronaldo is the most powerful player at United, and look what Ten Hag did with Ronaldo. When you do that to the most powerful, biggest, highest wage player, even captain of the club, it sends a message to the rest of the team of you can't fuck with this manager. Whereas in the past, the United players know that they can undermine the manager. They know they can take control of the dressing room. With Ollie, they knew they could get him sacked. With Ragnick, they knew they could get him sacked. Ten Hag doing this sends a message of, yeah, you can't fuck with me, and the board won't let you fuck with me. And that's what Arteta did with Aubameyang. And, Arteta, and I think, Ten Hag's taken that almost Mikel Arteta approach in that sense as well. So many of our players are injury prone, don't they follow diet, proper nutrition. Sometimes it's just luck as well. Sometimes it's just luck. And Arteta got rid of Aubameyang and told him how it is. And I think that's what Ten Hag's doing with Ronaldo as well. And Rashford to score and Eriksen to score a pen. Hopefully, I will get into what I think the lineup will be as well. And Alice, Erik Ten Hag doesn't want any Jan transfers because we're settling in like everyone is good. No, Ten Hag wants January signings. Ten Hag came out publicly after the Sheriff game and said, if the players I want are available in January, I want more people to come in January because this squad isn't finished. We're still building. We still need more players in. And we saw very clearly in the Newcastle game. If we go to the Newcastle game and even go to the Spurs game, because we only beat Spurs 2-0, but we had the chances to win that game 4-5-0. I think Lloris had something against Rashford. But if you go back to those games, Ten Hag coached a 2-0 win versus Newcastle and a 4-0 win versus Spurs. But we only scored 2 goals out of probably 6 goals that could have been scored because Ten Hag doesn't have the players. You could see with the way we were playing, especially against Spurs, this is what Ten Hag's coaching. Ten Hag was coaching good football, good attacking football. Ten Hag was coaching brilliant football. You could really see what United were doing against Spurs. And I just looked at it and I went, this football we saw versus Spurs and even the football we saw versus Newcastle was so good from Ten Hag. And it just said to me, the board have to back Ten Hag. The board have to do this. The board have to do that. Because I can see Ten Hag as coaching wins, but we're not scoring. We have 30 shots and letting one in. The decision making in the final third is poor because Ten Hag never got a striker in the summer, and it's very obvious Ten Hag wanted Ronaldo out and a striker in the summer, but it wasn't possible because of the price of Antony. It's so obvious Ten Hag didn't get a striker in the summer, but I think once Ten Hag gets a striker in January and Ronaldo goes, if that happens, and once Ten Hag gets his Frenkie De Jong in the summer and a right back potentially in the summer, I think it could be a very different story. I think it could be a very, very different story for Manchester United. Because I can see Ten Hag coaching wins. I can see what we did against Tottenham, absolutely dominant. And I just go, Ten Hag is doing everything right. He just doesn't have the players. And I said this with our Arsenal last season. I said Arteta is coaching like 2-3-0 wins. But Arsenal didn't have a clear striker last season. And now they brought in Jesus. Arsenal are getting the wins Arteta would coach. Because Arteta would coach these really good games. And you think, okay, Arsenal have been brilliant. Arsenal easily going to win this. La-di-la, because Arteta was doing brilliant, but they wouldn't win games because they didn't have a striker. And now they got the striker, they're winning the games. And I just see Ten Hag in this exact same position, doing the exact same thing. And I have to give him a lot of plaudit for that as well. But guys, keep smashing the like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. David said he loves Ten Hag's press conference today. It was a very good press conference, very good honesty. But he also, what I like about Ten Hag is he did reveal everything that happened with Ronaldo and was honest. But he said, I don't want to be talking about Ronaldo. This is a press conference for United Chelsea. Can we change the subject? You know, he was honest. He addressed the media. He said, this is what happened. So there's no speculation and all of that. You know what happened. It came out in the media. But yeah, I mean, he had a very good press conference. Obviously, Ronaldo's apology came out. Wasn't the best apology in the world, was it? But yeah, it is what it is. Like, I do feel sorry for Ronaldo. I do think that Ten Hag's done the right thing with Ronaldo, but because Ronaldo acted unprofessionally. But I do think this, at the end of the day, the way the board treat Ronaldo is appalling, but the way Ronaldo treated Ten Hag was appalling, and two wrongs don't make a right for Ronaldo. So that's why I'm with Ten Hag on this. But there's actually cricket players that are there, but a lot of people out there that fucking hate Ten Hag and are all for Ronaldo now. But I want to talk about a few things before we get into the next story as well. It was kind of a half apology, as David said, and the English BS is utter nonsense. There is an English bias. We all know there's an English bias in the media. It doesn't, you know. And I would side Musiala. He's a good player, but I don't know if he'll come to United. While Fernandes can captain the bench. Fernandes was brilliant, actually. Let me see if I can find it. It might be in my likes. There's actually statistics Sky Sports put up, if I can find it, about the difference between Bruno in the two games. Now, this is the Ronaldo apology. I'll get the Ronaldo apology up. But basically, Bruno Fernandes was absolutely excellent versus Tottenham Hotspur. And I believe there's a brilliant player in Bruno Fernandes. I know there is. But Bruno has obviously been very, very frustrating for Manchester United. But I think versus Spurs, he looked like a different player. And that was something we needed to see. I do want to talk about Lisandro Martinez from using Ronaldo. I just want to see if I can get this Bruno graphic up for you, which I can't. There was some really good. Here it is. So I'm going to get this up here. I want to show this to you guys. This is a really interesting graphic. So let me get rid of this Ronaldo shitty apology and let me show you this Bruno graphic that I found. So this here is created by Sky Sports, and this is a really interesting graphic. We'll make it bigger for you guys. There you go. You get to see less of me and more of him. But so the first thing says previous 9 games per 90 and versus Tottenham. So this is Bruno's stats in the first 9 Premier League games per 90, and then the 90 minutes versus Tottenham. So in the first 9 Premier League games, he completed 15 final third passes per 90. Versus Tottenham, he did double that. In the first 9 Premier League games, he was averaging 2 chances created a game per 90. Versus Tottenham, he created 9 chances. Now, Bruno, no player has created more than 9 chances in the Premier League this season. And the last time a player created more than 9 chances in a single game was a year and a half ago. So that's how good Bruno was versus Tottenham. Expected assists, Bruno's gone from 0.19 to 0.53 compared to his other games. He had 90 touches against Spurs compared to his normal 62. But the biggest killer for me is passing accuracy. He was averaging 76% pass accuracy for the other games, but against Spurs, 92%. And with the risky passes Bruno makes, you expect him to get around 80% pass accuracy anyway. But to get 92 with some of the passes he made were absolutely incredible. And I thought Bruno was fantastic versus Spurs. I thought Lisandro Martinez was fantastic versus Spurs. What this says to me is I think Bruno's a player that's been poor this season. I think Bruno's a player that we've had the right to criticise. He was frustrating in the last few games. But if Bruno does what did against Tottenham Hotspur against Chelsea, against all the other sides, then you've got the Bruno Fernandes that we all fell in love with when we first joined United. Bruno's been poor for nearly a year, and I will admit that as a Bruno fangirl. But we can all still see in there. Bruno proved he's still got it in him, and it's just can he be confident with all of that as well? And Bruno Fernandes showing class. And also, everyone talks about how Bruno's shit against the top six. Bruno putting a masterclass against the top six. Bruno's a great player. Most people just can't stand his whiny behaviour. I agree. But some people have Bruno agendas and even said he was shit after Tottenham when he wasn't. I will admit when Bruno's good, and I'll admit when Bruno's poor. And Bruno was fucking brilliant yesterday. And Bruno's frustrated me a lot because I think I like Bruno the player. I don't like Bruno the play style. But today, against Spurs, he was absolutely magnificent as well. Bruno doesn't fit a system with Eriksen and De Jong, but we don't have to. So we don't have to worry about that now. And this says attack football benefits players. 100%. We actually played attack and football benefited the players so much forward. Lisandro Martinez also defensively looked so good. I couldn't believe how good Lisandro Martinez was versus Tottenham Hotspur. He was bloody incredible. And anybody with eyes could just see how fantastic Lisandro Martinez was for Manchester United as well versus Tottenham. But let's get into a few more stories. Just wanted to get the Bruno stats up there because I thought that was interesting, but I do want to get into a few more stories. Someone said to me, top 3 strikers I bring to United long term would be Ivan Toney, Osimhen, and Vlahovic. They're my 3 main strikers. Let me know who your 3 main striker options are to replace Ronaldo as well. And an interesting stat has come out that Steven Gerrard only had a 31% win rate at Aston Villa. Now, even Gary Neville had a 35% win rate at Valencia. Steven Gerrard had a fucking stinker at Aston Villa, didn't he? Absolute stinker. Low. Fuck Steven Gerrard. I know that sounds bad, but Liverpool did that as well. But let's get into the Van der Sar story. I want to get into the Van der Sar story because we spoke about this in my video earlier, but there's some more news that's come out. And loads more news has come out regarding the Van der Sar story that I didn't mention in my video earlier that I want to get up on the screen here. So let me quickly show you this here. So basically, it's come out from very good sources in the Netherlands, and it was confirmed that Van der Sar had talks about taking on a job at United. So Van der Sar to United talks were confirmed, but it was said that they are very satisfied with Ten Hag at United, and Anthony is also doing well at the club. After the coach and the players, Manchester United are now also starting to pull on Ajax board for Van der Sar. So this is the big story coming out that United are making a move for Edwin Van der Sar. Man United are making a move to approach Van der Sar, and they've actually had talks over Van der Sar at United. A lot of people saying Toney, Jonathan David, and Osimhen as their top 3 strikers as well. Do you think Ronaldo will play for us again? Of course he'll play. He's still got loads more games coming up, but I think he will leave in January. And Rashford scored 2 against Leaders earlier. Rashford's been very good lately. I disagree with people saying Rashford and all that as well. But back to the main story here. As you said, Ten Hag's they're very satisfied with Ten Hag, but this is reports coming out from good Dutch journalists and good Dutch people in the Dutch media. And the first report that we spoke about in my video earlier today was that Ten Hag had talks with Van der Sar had talks with United about the job. But Man United board are now interested in pulling Van der Sar in as director of football. And a lot of people don't realise how massive this is. A lot of people will look at this and go, oh, that's cool. And be like, yeah, I'll take Van der Sar. But when you actually think about it, Van der Sar to United as director of football would be bloody massive. Because look at what he's done at Ajax in those years. Look at the amount of youngsters Ajax brought in and sold for profit. And you know what? People will say, no way the Glazers will bring in Van der Sar. He's too good at his job. He's a footballing man. He will put football above finances. Exactly. But do you know why I think the Glazers will bring in Van der Sar? Now, Van der Sar is an ex-player. We know that United have a bit of a soft spot for ex-players. But if United use their brains, which they don't, and because Van der Sar is such a logical move, it means it probably won't happen. But the Glazers might look at Van der Sar and go, he spent this much money on these players at Ajax and spent them for this much more. Now, if you were the Glazers, you will know that United have spent the most money in the last 10 years. They've got nowhere near any success. So if you're the Glazers and you're like, Jim Ratcliffe's pressured to buy the club, we need to spend less money as a club to be more successful. Your thought process would be like, okay, we need to get someone in the board that's better at their job. Someone that has a reputation for buying players on the cheap and selling them for expensive, because United have only broke even on 2 players post Sir Alex Ferguson, being Daley Blind and Dan James. That is fucking dreadful. And if you were the Glazers, you'll look at Van der Sar from a business perspective and go, he brought in all these players for, let's say, 60 million and sold them all for 600 million 3 years later. And, you know, you look at the money Van der Sar's actually made Ajax. You look at how Van der Sar's ran Ajax, it's been brilliant. And if you're the Glazers, you actually wake up and use your brain, you'll go, us hiring bankers to do a footballer's job has just ended up costing us more money. Look at the money Woodward spent on crap. If you'd have given someone who knew football that money, we probably would have spent less money and be with a better team right now. And maybe the Glazers have woken up to that idea. I mean, surely it's been 10 years of failure. Surely they've realised that actually this is the structure you've got to follow in football now. You've got to be more modern. Football's changed. Maybe the Glazers will wake up to that idea. I mean, ideally, we have to wait and see. You just don't know with these stupid owners, do you? But I think, you know, Ten Hag will probably push for Van der Sar. Van der Sar being a club legend gives him the edge. It's very logical. He's done a very good job at Ajax. It's a very logical deal to do. The question is, will the Glazers do it? Will the Glazers pursue it? You just don't know with them Glazers, do you? They're bloody Glazer family. They're bloody Glazers, eh? But yeah, the Glazers know something we don't for the Super League. That's why they're spending now. The Glazers won't be selling anytime soon. The Glazers, there's reports that the Super League is going to be launched back up. And that is probably why the Glazers are staying, says Scott. And you make a good point. And maybe the Glazers want to build a Super United side for the big Super League plan to destroy football again. And you could solve world hunger with the amount of money United waste on big moves. I know we could have left Maguire. We could have left Maguire at Leicester, and we could have gone and given it to people, that 80 million to people that needed it as well. And Van der Sar did have his goalkeeper reputation revived at United after he flopped at Juventus. It's possible he has a personal depth for United. Potentially, I think Van der Sar would be a good shout, just improving the board and the structure. And Van der Sar said a long time ago, leaving as a keeper, he'll be back. Exactly. I think Van der Sar would want to come. I think Ten Hag would want Van der Sar. I think everyone would be happy with Van der Sar because of what he's done. But they also think Ajax would potentially be willing to let Edwin Van der Sar go, potentially, because obviously I think it's a new era. It's a new manager. It's a new building era. Overmars has gone. Ten Hag has gone. Van der Gaag has gone. I feel like it's only a matter of time until someone like Van der Sar would go as well. I don't know your thought process on that, guys, though. Let me know your thought process down below. And yeah, guys, we're going to get into the Chelsea bit. We're going to get into the Chelsea part of this game. So I want to get into the Chelsea news. So let me go to Chosen 11. So basically, Ronaldo, Martial and Elanga are reportedly out for the Manchester United versus Chelsea game. So we're going to look at what the lineup would be. And if I'm being honest, I think it will be Rashford up top. I think it will be Sancho on the left and Anthony on the right because they are literally our only three fit attackers. I think it will Anthony on the right here. Now, Bruno will start in the 10 role, but the interesting thing is Fred was really good the other day, and Ten Hag always says if players are good, they keep their place. So I think Fred could keep his place, but Eriksen will be back, so maybe Eriksen gets in Fred's place. We all know Casemiro will start versus Chelsea tomorrow because he was fucking fantastic. We know Delo will play unless it's an injury. If Delo isn't fit, then Malacia will play. We know Shaw will keep his place because we know one thing with Erik Ten Hag is he doesn't like to change a winning lineup if they play well. And this was a winning lineup that played well. And I think it could be an unchanged starting 11 versus Chelsea. However, with Eriksen being fully fit for this game now, he could potentially come in for Fred. But believe it or not, I know Fred had a stinker against Newcastle, but Fred was so good against Tottenham. If Erik Ten Hag's sticking by his word of I won't drop if you put in a good performance, if you put in a good performance, you keep your place in the team, then I don't think Fred will be going anywhere anytime soon for Manchester United. I think he could be staying in that lineup until he has another stinker. And him and Casemiro do work well together. I will say that. I think Fred and Casemiro do work really, really well together. So it's an interesting one there. But let me know your thoughts on that one as well. Let me know your thoughts on the lineup. I believe this will be the Manchester United lineup tomorrow. I will probably do a match preview for the game. But Steve said, guys, we are on 200 likes, so keep smashing that like button if you have not already as well. And too many yes men at Old Trafford, and that's the core of the problem. That's why I love Ten Hag getting rid of the yes men. And apparently Van der Sar's contract at Ajax is going to end soon anyway, which is interesting as well. And signing players under 24 is how you cash in, sell them for a fortune in their prime, or extend them. Exactly. And then that's probably the model that you need to follow as well. And Van der Sar will back Ten Hag. He knows what player CR7 is. Maybe Ronaldo will listen better now. The thing with Van der Sar is he will come to United, and I think he'll do a brilliant job at United. The question is, will the Glazers give Van der Sar the money he needs? If Van der Sar's not spending money, you can't turn on Van der Sar because you know he wants what's best for the footballing club. It's because the Glazers aren't giving it to him. Looks like we're finding our best 11. I think this is around our best 11. I still think Rashford on the left and Martial up top. Round this is our best 11. But, you know, I think that we need Martial back fit, but he's made a laugh. Martial is out injured, by the way, guys, which is really frustrating. And Matthew says, don't be fooled by Fred. He's terrible. I'm not going to say that. Eriksen's quality pure class. I think Eriksen's better than Fred, but I think Fred puts in a good performance. Do you drop him as well? Alice, regardless of your opinion, CR7 on CR7, there's a much bigger picture will not end well for Ten Hag or Manchester United. I wonder how much moaning would be CR7 doing for Manchester City. Look, I'm going to defend Ten Hag because I think he's given the right discipline to Ronaldo to set an example for the squad. But I'll blame Man United for the Ronaldo situation happening. It's Manchester United's fault Ronaldo's acting like this because Manchester United forced Ronaldo to stay, played bad, good in the Europa League, and didn't grant Ronaldo his wish to leave. It's not Ten Hag's fault. Ten Hag's dealt with it well, but Man United created this situation. And yeah, you could sit here and say if he'd have got his move, if he'd have got what he wanted, you know, it would have been much better for Ronaldo and much better for Ten Hag as well. But look, my thought process is honestly, I back Ten Hag. I think he did the right thing on Ronaldo. I can't defend what Ronaldo did, but I will say in defence of Ronaldo, even though I can't defend him refusing to come off the bench, unacceptable. The board created that mess. Man United created that mess, and United are ruining Ronaldo's legacy in that sense as well. I think you could sit there as well. Keep smashing the like buttons, guys. Please do subscribe as well. We've got one more story to get into. So we spoke about Frenkie De Jong, United leading the race for Frenkie De Jong. Apparently in January, we've spoken about Van der Sar. We've spoken about Cody Gakpo. We've spoken about numerous things. Fabrizio Romano said that United will look to back Ten Hag. But Samuel Lutkes came out with this really silly article, and it's from Samuel Lutkes, so take it with a pinch of salt, saying that basically dressing room sources do not believe there's any imminent threat of players turning against Ronaldo, as he's immensely respected. Young players at Man United idolise Ronaldo, while senior players marvel at his professionalism and his misstep aside. However, sources say there's a greater togetherness in the squad after the departure of certain players, and they do not expect that to be compromised by Ronaldo's transgression. However, Samuel Lutkes said, despite the squad harmony, Ronaldo suspects some teammates have attempted to undermine his standing in the dressing room. Apparently, teammates are undermining Ronaldo in the dressing room, and it was said that a growing number of Manchester United players prefer playing without Ronaldo, as doubts over his future mounted at United, and that a growing number of United players had hoped Ronaldo was sold in the summer, and that apparently Erik Ten Hag was only open to letting Ronaldo go and did agree an agreeable offer for Ronaldo, but it did not appeal to the player. But what I don't like is reports coming out saying the players wish Ronaldo had left and all that. I don't think that's appropriate reports. I don't believe those reports. I believe the reports that came out yesterday because it was from The Athletic. It was from people close, and Ten Hag's confirmed it. But I don't believe when there's silly reports that come out like the Man United players wished Ronaldo had left in the summer, because which Man United player is going to go to the media and say, yeah, I wish Ronaldo left in the summer? It makes no sense. It makes no sense. But look, guys, I am going to be back tomorrow with Manchester United versus Chelsea preview, and then a live Manchester United versus Chelsea watch-along, and then a live Manchester United versus Chelsea match reaction. So if you're not subscribed to Alice Talks Football, make sure you go and subscribe down below. I go live every single evening on the channel, keeping you guys up to date with all the latest Manchester United news, transfer news, updates, and more. Please do subscribe. Please do hit the like button on the way out. I will be back tomorrow morning. If there's any breaking news, I'll be back tonight. Thank you for watching the live stream. Smash a like, smash a subscribe. See you next time. Bye.